And we're back. As you're not familiar with me, I'm Mike, and this is my show, My Two Loonies Worth. This is our discussion about my point of view about life. Given the fact that I've lived a certain amount of life, and every day you learn something new, and sometimes you learn something about yourself that you didn't realize about yourself, and it's nice to be able to pass those little pearls of wisdom on. This is more of an impromptu one. I've just been really down lately with life and that, and like a lot of us, our Christmas time is not exactly a time of us that we were taught to celebrate joy and happiness and peace and all the hyperbole and to shop until we drop, and many of us end up going into the season with lots of anxiety and lots of hope, a bit of both. And then in January comes along when the debts come in, when the credit cards come in to pay the bills, we go, oh my, whatever. And we're all scrambling around to figure out how we're going to pay those bills. We have made all these people happy during Christmas time with all the gifts we buy and all the money we spent to tell people that we care about, that we love them. And the next month we're having to figure out how to pay for that Christmas so we can get ready for the next one. Well, a traditional side, this is capitalism for you. And given the fact the economy is the way it is right now in capitalism, people are starting to worry about that too. Worry about whether or not they're going to pay their loans back, whether they're going to be able to afford their house, whether they're going to afford to buy a house for those of us that, like myself, don't have ever had a home. We're all worrying from day to day whether we'll be able to make it to the next day in some ways. Some of us less so. Some of us are very fortunate that we own our home house, right, and we don't have a lot of credit and we have money, and we're biggest complaints the fact our money can't buy as much as it used to. Well, for those lucky few that are either, well, not really lucky, those are few who, through circumstances of luck or being more prudent with their money than others, or being fortunate to have a bit of money to begin with and make shrewd investments and made sound decisions that were able to overfront themselves, the thing that most majority of people find themselves. Great, fantastic, welcome, and I hope that your life is great in that, and I hope you see the fact that sometimes maybe when you have such good fortune, that maybe this is the type of thing that when you see the stores asking for money to donate to whatever cause, that you open your wallet just a little bit to let those know that out there that other human beings that may not be as fortunate as you or advantage you or whatever the circumstance that leads you to be in a position you're in, that you can help and make a difference for them. So on the end of that, I mean, that's just an aside of that. Anyway, like I say, I'm finding myself being in a difficult position where I have to decide what my life's going to be like. And this was supposed to be my mission, to come to you and find a means to be able to market myself, I guess, as well as put out some information that I feel is pretty appropriate that maybe people might think compelling, and hopefully they might decide that I'm worthwhile investing in financially, where I can use this, as many people on YouTube do, as a way of making money. And of course, obviously, what comes with that is most people think merchandise. Obviously, I'm thinking that too. I mean, if I can come to the fact of being a popular brand, I'm going to merchandise myself. Why not? I mean, that's also a way of helping to spread my message and my channel. And that is one thing I want to do at some point too. But right now, my purpose right now is just to talk to you about what I feel about it, and hope that this resonates with you, to somebody out there resonates with the feelings about this and understands and gets some valuable insight into it, and avoids making some of the mistakes I made in life that I wish I had someone out there giving me advice to. So on that note, we're coming at this Christmas season. Anxiety is afloat for all of us. And what do we do? What do we do to deal with this anxiety? Well, we look at what we've got. I mean, I think that's the problem. Most of us don't look at what we've got already. We look at what we don't have. We look at what everyone else has that we don't have, and we go, why did I not get that? Or why did not I have that? Or why am I losing that if something you already have that you may not be able to hold on to, let's say a home, for example, that you're having trouble paying for. So we're all caught up in this anxiety about worrying about either what we don't have or what we may potentially lose. Well, there's a thing that we can potentially lose all of us. It's a lot more dire than that. And that is our friends, our families, and our own lives. those things should be the most valuable things, the most precious things, the most important things to worry about above all else, and all of the concerns fade. Now, we live in a society that we need to have a place to live in, so obviously having a place to live is definitely something you worry about in terms of financial, in terms of your livelihood and that. So I'm not saying not to worry about, but we worry too much about like that. I think if we worry more about taking care of our own physical health and taking care of and caring for the lives and health of the people that we care about in society, and if we can't have the means to, like I said before, help the less fortunate society, the people that made through circumstances beyond their control ended up in places they never thought they would end up in the first place. Maybe too, that's part of the healing process of growth and part of feeling good about ourselves, rather than just giving gifts for one time a year and then just wait until the next year to do the same and get caught up in the consumerism mode. Now, unfortunately, we need consumers in the run because we're a capitalist society. Consumerism drives everything. Every job, one way or the other, is driven by consumerism. If we don't have people spending money on things and people buying things, and the whole process of most people's jobs, that either the ones that make or dispose of or dispense or whatever along the line, the service industry, that one part of the cogs in the machine happen, without that type of consumerism, we would not function as an economy. The economy would fall apart very quickly, and there'd be a lot of carnage and a lot of very unfortunate, unhappy people because of it. So we need that. But how do we manage our need to be consumers, but at the same time look at the things that the other side of the equation is talking about, things like climate change? I really start to hate. I mean, hate's not a strong enough word, I don't think, but it's the strongest word I can think of right now. Just the word climate change itself, because what happened was, you got to remember, first it started off was global warming. So the thing was, the planet's going to warm, but we're all going to die. Well, of course, if that happens, sure. If the planet changes any way, shape, or form, a meteorite lands out, we're dead. So we need to be concerned with that, as well as things that are beyond our control, because we have to have a little extra scavenger for that too. But things that we can control, things that we do have effect and agency on some way, we have to be reticent of those. But we also have to look at realistic solutions to do it. We just can't go and make extreme solutions because we're afraid it's going to happen tomorrow, and we keep being told that if we don't change now, that it's going to go at a point beyond no return. Well, I think the fact is that was the case. It went beyond return a long time ago. The one thing about this planet, it is fairly resilient. It is the ecosystem, while it was fairly robust, and I'm sure every time that human beings have been wiped off the face of the earth somewhere in the world, the environment's returned back to nature again, so nature takes care of its own anyway. So if we decide to enlighten ourselves, the rest of nature will be just fine as long as we don't kill them too. So instead of worrying about nature, we should worry about how it affects us and our existence and our coexistence with the planet and the animals and the things that exist down here, and figure out a way of being able to live in some sort of better harmony with it, as well as being able to reconcile the fact that we are a technology advanced species in terms of what we have on our planet here, and find a way of embracing that, but at the same time respecting the fact that the planet is a closed ecosystem, and it's the only planet we got right now until we go to somewhere else, and that may be what we do. But for now, we don't have anywhere else to go. There's nowhere else we can go. There's no feasible way for everyone on this planet to go anywhere else, and there's no feasible place for them to go anyway. Not yet. So we have to figure out how to make it work. And whether it be recycling, if true recycling, not the recycling we're doing now, but truly recycling, the RRR should be reduce, reuse, recycle, but people keep forgetting about the reduce or the reuse thing. Our culture went so much away from that, partly because of capitalism, partly because of consumption capitalism, where we have to always have the greatest brand new thing because we're being told to by the media, we're being told to by our own brains that having the latest, greatest thing that matters. And if you don't, then you're not going to be all the other people are going to look down on you because you got the old last year's model or something. I mean, are you poor or whatever excuse they gave to ridicule you for doing so, even if it's just because you're not the type of person that buys things, just like my brother, buys things and keeps them for long periods of time. He said, I'll keep it till it's broken. I'll keep it till I no longer can fix it. We used to be that way. and the economy worked just fine, because what happened was, instead of focusing on selling to the same consumer over and over and over again, there's other people out there in other parts of the world that you can sell your technology to create jobs for people. It may not be the latest and greatest technology, but you can sell them something. So there's always a consumer out there looking for stuff, and it, in the end, advances the cause of all humanity by allowing them to become part of the rest of the ecosystem of the world in terms of technology. So there's no excuse or means what we have to focus solely on one up in the Joneses and always making us. It doesn't mean there shouldn't be innovation and improvement, but the improvement doesn't necessarily have to come at the cost of all of society throwing away what was perfectly good and not reusing it somewhere along the line. We don't need that. We don't have to go that path. That type of mass consumption like that is not necessarily the way to go. There's other ways of doing it in more manageable ways that guarantee that people still have work, and we use the as a means to betterment of society. So the thing is that what do? We have all. I don't have all the answers. I have ideas. I mean, I have ideas that are probably not very new. Like things like, for example, I always thought the craziest thing about foreign aid was giving money to a nation, especially a nation that's made up of people with an unstable government, maybe a dictatorial government, maybe a tyrannical government, where the person takes that money that was meant to be helping the people in that country and squanders it and gives it to guerrillas and fights wars, and therefore, because they're the only gateway to that nation, because they're the leaders of that nation, the official leader of the nation that people recognize, and they control the conduits to get money and help to people. And even in times when they send actual physical aid, where the actual people that control will then turn around and sell it to their own people, which is even more deplorable. There's not a lot we can do there when it comes to things like that, unless the people themselves decide that they've had enough. And do we interfere in that regard and overthrow government in order to bring a more peaceful and stable situation? We have to start thinking back. Just right now, the whole situation with Ukraine. A lot of people are thinking, well, we got to go in. Zelensky's telling us the Russians are invading. You have to help us out. Well, the fact is it really doing what it intended to do? Is the West getting its actual value with it? Or, as some people report, the fact that the Ukrainian government's suppressing religious freedoms in the country. You know, I'm not religious myself personally. Religion being suppressed in that respect to some degree is not an issue that I have much a pony horse in as far as the idea of religion itself is concerned. But let's face it, the world is built for the longest time on the paramount ladders of different faiths and different belief systems coming together and coalescing to form some sort of society that has certain values and civilizes around those values, and they become the base or bedrock of the civilization. Now, not to say that these values may be out of date to some degree and they may need revisiting, and people that don't necessarily believe in these things are bad people per se, but the basis of most of the societies that have formed in culture were based around the tenets of some sort of ideological or some mostly religious group. So I recognize that, and the fact is, my goal is not necessarily fight for totally reducing religion entirely from the world, although I think that might not be a bad thing in some respects, but not necessarily doing that, but working with those groups of people to recognize that we all have the right to have whatever beliefs, ideologies, or principles of living, as long as the tenets of those principles of living don't interfere with anyone else's right to exist. And this is my cause. So I'm not fighting necessarily to get rid of religion per se as a general rule. It's not a practical thing to do anyway, because then all you get is them doing the same thing to you, which is what has happened for centuries to most religious groups or outside groups that were stepped outside the standard religious community that existed in society. They were vilified and persecuted in one way or the other, sometimes very severely, and I don't want that to happen to us or anyone else. I think the idea of recognizing the fact that if we want other people to recognize us and give us space and not hold us and persecute us, we have to also give them the same respect, mutual respect of belief, or in this case, non-belief, and that degree to disagree and find a way to get past all that religious and sort of ideological or can find a way to exist as people on the same planet in spite of what we do believe, or in this case, don't. Which goes back to Christmas. I mean, the fact is, it's become a battle of the religious right. It's claiming they want Christmas back for itself because it's called Christmas, but forgetting the fact that most of these traditions are oral traditions, many of them borrowed from other traditions of other cultures, of other ideologies, and that. And so, does Christmas really belong to? Do the traditions that are associated with Christmas belong to Christians? No, they don't. They belong to everybody. Do Christians want to celebrate those traditions within a certain framework of Christianity? Yes. Do Christians feel affronted when people say Happy Holidays instead of Merry Christmas? Yeah. Well, you know what? Get over it. I'm not offended by someone saying Merry Christmas. You shouldn't be offended by someone saying Happy Holidays if they feel it's more comfortable with dealing with a specific season like that. Get over that sort of thing. I mean, both sides are a little bit overreactionary when it comes to the whole way they deal with the holiday season in general. So we need to just back off from that and not to put each other on such a defensive where we feel that either side is being offended because they're not getting their way. Because let's face it, there's going to be always someone out there that's not going to get their whole way. This is what the civilization is about. It's the great compromise of values and beliefs and feelings, and the freedom to have different beliefs and feelings about things, and not necessarily have to all believe the exact same thing, but recognize the fact that each of us have the right to that, and then the framework of that is to where we find a way to live in peace and harmony within the confines of that particular framework. So getting back to all that, and the season, I mean, the thing is that happiness comes from within. Not from any religion, not from any belief system, not from anything else, but from from how you feel about yourself, how you feel about others. And if you forget about the religious aspect of all this for 1 second, or like the ideological aspect, and just think of it from the point of view of that, do on others as you want to do unto you, then this season, like any other time of the year, should be a festive, joyous celebration of life. And sure, life's going to be hard, and sure, there's going to be obstacles and boundaries that are pointed by just existing, and also by the trappings of civilization and trappings of capitalism. But if you throw your hands in the sand and give up, and then expect just not want to participate anymore because you just think you've at your rope's end and you can't do anything more, then you really surrendered all your agency to complain about it. Just like I see a lot of people when they complain about, I don't like this political party of the West. And then I ask them the question, well, did you actually vote in the last election? And many times the answer would be no. And I know why. And I'm not, at first I got mad at people for doing that, saying, how dare you lecture me about the fact of policies in politics, but you never voted. But at the same time, I now think it's that I can understand why the apathy exists to begin with. The fact that people feel like the vote doesn't matter, that the system is rigged, that people, that the fix is in, and the fact that your vote doesn't really matter, and what's the difference? Well, I'll tell you what, the fact is, really, in the end of the day, your vote does matter. Not necessarily individually, but as a collective. If everyone that felt the same way as you didn't vote for a political party or a political cause, or participate in some way in the political process, whether it be federally, provincially, or municipally, or in any type of election sort for anything in life, felt that way, then what would happen was that people that felt the other way, who didn't reason that way, would automatically win. And you can keep complaining about it all the time. Well, if you would at least take the opportunity to find other like-minded people that have the same cause as you, that may feel exactly the same way of being disenfranchised by it, and collectively get together and make it on yourself to represent your values and your vote on the thing, this is what true democracy is. This is when true democracy works a lot better, is that at least now you've shown that not everybody agrees with this person. You may not necessarily win the cause of the day, but I'd rather lose the cause of the day knowing that I spoke up for what I believe in than to not speak up at all and just complain about things not being the way I want. Kind of a silly thing to do, I think. I mean, you're never always going to get your way, but at least if you participate in the process, at least you know that you have a right to complain when you do see things like this happen, and you're not just complaining for the sake of not that you're just giving up agency to do so. Anyway, so this is what I'm talking about. This is what the I want to talk about, these discussions about these topics that exist in society, and also talk about my own personal life experiences and how my sort of journeys relates to how I've grown from when I was younger to around, and how my views changed on things, how my views on some things didn't change at all, but in fact got more cemented over time as I saw things and I became more experienced in life. So this is what I want to have. I want to have these discussions here about but I also want other people to come on here and or either comment on this channel about things that they might have gone through, and then sort of have a dialogue about these things, because I'm not the only person that knows about these things in life. I'm not the only person that's had these types of experiences. But at the same time, there's also people that have experiences completely uniquely different from me that I might want to learn from. So anyway, I'm going to end this broadcast for now. I'm hoping to have another podcast or broadcast, whatever we call, before the end of the year and before Christmas time, because Christmas is coming quickly on. I'm attempting to make these things available. I'm going to record them Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday every week, and I'm hoping to do it on a regular basis, not necessarily at the same time, and post them by the Saturday at the very latest of every week. So every Saturday, look at your Facebook post, or check on your YouTube channel notifications, and that you will see me popping up again. And hope you do enjoy, and tell your friends and tell your family about me. And this is it. I just came down here, the impromptu. This is you. This is the room. I'm not dressed up. I'm not shaven. I'm not cleaned up, anything like that. This is just me, an ordinary, everyday person like you and I, or you and me, or whatever. Mom tends to correct my thing all the time. Mothers, you gotta love them. And so I'm coming on here appealing to you. If you like what I'm talking about, if you get what I'm talking about, if you think that there's some interesting things that I have to say that are important, that I have to add value to your life, or do you just want to comment those things about your own experiences and maybe call me out on whatever you think is bullshit, because everyone has their own take on things. Like, comment, subscribe to the channel, maybe offer to come on as a guest on the channel, maybe have a discussion, because I love having discussions and dialogue with people. I'd much rather be talking to someone, having a conversation, than listening and moan and drone in my own voice, because the fact is that it's just one point of view, one-sided narrative. There is no dialogue, and I miss those types of conversations. I really do. So anyway, I'm going to wrap it up for now. This is my week's podcast for the 9th of December. I'll be posting it. Hopefully this, obviously we're late. So actually it's the 8th of December, sorry, because I'm thinking Friday. So anyone that should be saying the 9th, I'm sorry about that. I meant the 8th of December. It'll probably be posted on the 9th to 10th of December on YouTube, and also on Rumble and a few other platforms. I'm also on Locals. I have to update my channel Locals lately. Anyway, so anyone like, comment, subscribe. Take care. See you next week. Talk to you again soon. Bye for now.